of angles. We said there's corresponding angles, alternate interior angles, alternate exterior angles. We also had something called same side interior. That's not on these problems that we're doing right this moment. And then we talked about how we had those old pairs of angles, vertical angles, and linear pairs. These ones say identify each pair's corresponding alternate interior, alternate exterior. It says extend the lines if necessary, and then it says then shade the transversal. So if you are writing in pen, I wouldn't write down all the stuff that I'm about to write down. If you're writing in Notability, you can write it and erase it like me. If you're writing in pencil, write lightly and then change it. Because there's two main ways to do this problem. So let me show you both before you write anything. Okay. One way to do this problem is extend the lines. Now, don't just go and be like, extend the lines, extend the lines. This is fun, extend the lines, extend the lines. Don't extend all the lines, okay? You're going to extend the lines that have 1 and 2 as their sides. So this line and this line make up angle 1. So I'm extending those. Okay, that one's not really a great job there. Let me beautify this a little bit. Okay, those lines make up angle 1. And then that same line I just did and this one make up angle 2. Now, I could do this on mine. I can erase these because these two lines have nothing to do with angle 1 and angle 2, these segments. So I can turn it into that diagram where you only see 2 lines in a transversal. Okay, now, it's been since yesterday that you learned this. Does anybody think they know the name of those 2 angles? Alternate interior, alternate exterior, or corresponding? Okay, alternate interior, okay. Between these lines is the interior. Alternate means different sides of the transversal. The transversal is the line that hits both. So let's write this down. Don't draw anything on your diagram yet. Alternate interior angles. You could abbreviate it like that. Alternate interior angles. Now let me erase a lot of this. There's an alternate way of doing this, a different way of doing this. And that's just to trace angle 1 and trace angle 2. And you see how I have this Z shape right here? If you have a Z shape and the angles are these 2 angles that I'm putting dots on, those are alternate interior. So you might like that Z shape way better. So there's 2 ways. Let me say them again. You can trace the angles and look for the Z shape or the F shape. Or the other shapes, or you can extend the lines. And some people like one way, some people like another. And this is shade the transversal. The transversal is actually pretty easy. It's the only segment that hits both angles. There's angle 1, angle 2. That's the only segment that hits both. Okay, let's do 3 and 4. I'm going to do the extending the lines way first, and then I'm going to do the other way second. So if I extend angle 3's lines, it would look like this. If I extend angle 4's lines, it would look like this. This line has nothing to do with angle 3 or 4. This line has nothing to do with angle 3 or 4. So I'm going to get rid of those. Okay? I know you can't do that on your paper. Now, here's where 3 and 4 are. All right, somebody raise their hand and tell me what kind of angles they think these 2 are. Leanne? Those are corresponding. And for corresponding, the way I described this, I said, there's 4 angles here, and there's 4 angles here, and those are both in the lower right-hand corner. They're both in the matching positions. And a lot of times these look equal. They don't have to be equal. We don't know if they're equal. These ones look equal, but it's not because they look equal. It's because they're in the same spot. They're both lower right-hand corner. Now, let's go just talk about the other way really fast. The other way is to trace angle 3 and trace angle 4. And you see how you got that F shape? That F shape, where the angles are here and here, it might be a backwards F or an upside down F or a sideways F. But when you get that F shape, those are corresponding. Okay, so you have 2 ways to do that. The line that hits 3 and 4, that's the transversal, that's done. Okay, 5 and 6. Let me extend these lines before anybody answers. And extend the line here. And again, I didn't do anything with these lines that have nothing to do with 5 and 6. So I'm just going to get rid of them. Pretend they're not there. You have to, make believe they're not there, but I can actually get rid of them. So we're looking at those two angles. This is the interior. Okay? When you do corresponding angles, there's one interior, one exterior. Okay? That's why for corresponding, we don't talk about interior, exterior. Somebody raise your hand and tell me these two. Nate. Alternate exterior angles. And let me remind people what that all means, right? Those are both not in the exterior. I'm sorry, both not in the interior. The interior is the yellow space. Alternate means they're on different sides of the transversal. The transversal is the line that hits the other two. So alternate because they're on different sides of that line that I just shaded. And then exterior because they're both in the exterior. Okay, let's go with the alternate way of doing this problem. If you shade angle 5, its lines, and you shade angle 6, you trace out those angles, you get those two V shapes. Those two V shapes like that, those are alternate exterior. They'll always be kind of connected with this line, right? This line right here kind of connects. So I kind of draw that as a dashed line, but they make two V's, and those two V's are alternate exterior angles. And then the transversal, again, is the only segment that hits both. That's this one. That's the transversal. I'm going a little bit fast here. Is there any question about this? All right, try this one on your own. Number 9. When it says what is the transversal, you're gonna write something down. You're not just gonna shade it. So you're gonna say like segment, whatever it happens to be that you think the transversal is. Which way do you guys like better? Do you guys like the extending the lines way, or the tracing the angles and looking at the letter way? You like extending the line? Anyone else has an opinion about this? Okay. So it's all how you visualize it, and the extending the lines way, I think, is a great way to take a problem that you look at and you don't know and just say like, okay, let me turn this into that diagram that I'm used to. I think that's a great way to do it. I think as you do more and more of these, you might start just tracing less and less stuff, and you might start, maybe not looking for F shapes, but you might start saying, I don't need to extend the lines. I just need to know which lines to look at, and that's what's important. And if you're saying like, how do I know which one lines to look at? These two lines make up angle 7, and these two lines make up angle 8. This line has nothing to do with 7 or 8. This line has nothing to do with 7 or 8. So I trace those, I get that F shape. You should have wrote corresponding angles. And the transversal is the one that hits both. You should have wrote AC. CA is the same thing. Most people would write AC. If you're doing this, A, B, C, you need to stop that. That should have been something in chapter 1 that you stopped doing. You write the endpoints. A, C. Don't write A, B, C. Okay? You don't write every point on the line. There's an infinite number of points on the line. You just write the endpoints for a segment. It goes from A to C. Okay, any questions about that problem? All right, moving on. So sometimes you have a diagram like this where you have more than 3 lines. It's a lot easier when there's 3 lines because you know which one's the transversal. It's a lot easier when the lines look parallel. And so I drew 2 lines that look parallel. Those are going to be easier. And I drew 2 lines that are definitely not parallel. Those are going to be a little more challenging. We have to deal with those. And then I drew a whole bunch of angles here. So there's 20 angles in total here. So it's a little more challenging, but I think we can do this. So it says, what kind of angles are 5 and 13? So, I mean, oops, I Didn't know I did that. 5 and 13. Okay, so I got 5 and 13 there. So I shaded those. Now, when you're doing a problem like this, don't just guess. Don't just, say like, I don't know, they look like a same side interior or whatever. Ask yourself, where's the transversal? And so the transversal is N. Let me highlight this. The transversal is N. The transversal is the only one that hits both. Then the lines are the other two. And so in this situation, I don't care about this line or these angles at all. And I don't care about these angles at all. So for when I'm talking about 5 and 13, I'm looking at those 3 lines. So you got to narrow it down to what 3 lines that is. All right, somebody raise their hand and tell me what kind of angles they think 5 and 13 are. Keenan. They're not alternate exterior because the interior is this area right here. Okay, you got to look between those lines, and 13 is in the interior, and 5 is in the exterior. So they're not alternate interior or alternate exterior. And remember, alternate means different sides of the transversal. You want to try again, Keenan, or no? All right, somebody else want to try this one? Go ahead, Ronald. Corresponding. And the F shape might look a little bit funky here. So let's just talk about corresponding, okay? Look at these 4 numbers and look at these 4 numbers. Both those are upper left-hand corner. That's corresponding. So for each set of 4 numbers, those are both upper left-hand corner, okay? Corresponding. Let's talk about corresponding for a second. Corresponding is always the same side of the transversal. There's one interior, one exterior, and they're in the same position. Let me trace out the angles, just the angles only. Here's angle 5, and here's angle 13. And again, that's an F shape. It's a backwards turned F, but it's an F-type shape. That's corresponding angles when they're in the corners of that F-type shape. That's corresponding. Okay, I'm going to erase all this stuff here. Start again on the next problem. So the next problem could be a different transversal, could be a different pair of lines. All right, let's do these 2. What type of angles are 17 and 3? All right, 17 and 3. Before I do anything, anybody want to take a shot at this? 17 and 3? Because you got to ignore a whole bunch of stuff here and only look at the stuff that's relevant to the problem. All right, Leo, what do you think?
Is it
Alternate exterior?
or interior?
Oh, interior, no, the interior. Okay. All right. So let's see. So this is the transversal, and let me just say this again. The transversal is the line that hits both angles. That is the only line that hits 3 and 17. Then 3 also hits this line, and 17 also hits this line. So all of this stuff doesn't make a difference, right? That stuff is not relevant to this problem. And he's saying that they're alternate, so they are on different sides of the transversal. And this is the interior. Like I said, when the lines don't look parallel, it's a little bit more challenging. And there's that line in the middle that can confuse people. But for the lines that we're talking about, those green ones, those are alternate interior angles for sure. And again, I'm not trying to talk you into one way or another, but look how I trace 3 and 17. Okay? Again, it's not a Z exactly. It's a backward Z, but it's a Z shape, and that's alternate interior angles. When we do problems, alternate interior angles is the one you get more than any other one. So if you ever have to guess, I don't really want you to guess, but alternate interior angles is the one I would guess because that's the most common one. All right, 7 and 14. So let me just start you off on this one. This is the transversal, shade it completely. 7 hits this line, 14 hits this line. I'm only looking in this area here. I'm ignoring everything else. Somebody want to try this one? I need to know what 7 and 14 are. Did you do it already? For these problems? Which one did you do? Corresponding? All right, good. Somebody, I need somebody else. I need a different person. You know, if you don't answer, that means I just got to talk about this more. Let me just trace out 7 and 14. Just trace the angles out only. I get those 2 V shapes. No one wants to raise your hand for this? So if they make those 2 V shapes, it's alternate exterior angles. Is that what you're going to say, Ronald? Yeah. Okay, well, you got one person at least who knows what's going on. If you guys have questions, let me know. It's hard to tell if people understand and just don't want to answer, or if people are confused. I'll tell you what. I will have you do this next one, D. Write down what you think, and I'll come walk around and look at it. Do you have a question?
I thought for C, it's asking what transversal.
Oh. So I did the totally wrong thing. Okay. Okay. Sorry. It says they're alternate exterior angles, so that would kind of be a bad question. All right. It does say for what transversal. So like I said, it's the one that hits both. I should have read it. I guess reading the problems would be a good idea. So it's line N. Okay, try D on your own. And maybe I was asking the wrong questions, which would explain why no one's answering it. Go ahead and try D, and I'll just walk around. If you think you can do E also, you could try E. E is easy to find one. There's more than one that's alternate interior to that. You can go ahead and try them. Yeah. So there is no such thing as like same side exterior. There could have been, they don't have a name for every single pair. There might be some books where they talk about all same side exterior. I didn't look at everybody's paper, but I looked at a lot that looked like they were correct. If I were to randomly pick angles, some of them don't have any name. Like if I picked 14 and 17, like those just don't have a name. There's no special name for those. One's interior, one's exterior. They're not. They're nothing. So there is something that you could call same side exterior. It's just that one that comes up in problems, and people who say that would know what you're talking about. But this one, anyways, is corresponding angles, and I think that when the lines are parallel or parallel-ish, it's a little bit easier than when they're not. And so I think this one is a little bit easier than A was, to be honest. And if you didn't get it, it's okay. But these are both upper left-hand corner. If you trace them, they make an F shape. That's corresponding. For the transversal, you should have wrote line. And this is the line that hits 13 and 17, and it's line L. Okay, now this is a challenge here. It says for which angles are alternate interior with 10. Okay, so I want to know what's alternate interior with 10. And there's more than one. Okay, everybody should be able to find at least one that's alternate interior with 10. The alternate interior ones make a Z shape. So somebody give me one of the angles that's alternate interior to 10, and somebody give me which one is the easiest one. Let's do the easiest one first. You guys know which one is the easiest one? I don't know. Maybe you have a different opinion than me, but I think 1 stands out as easier than the other ones. Ben?
7.
I think 7 is the most obvious because it makes that perfect Z shape right there. 7 and 10 are alternate interior. Okay? So that's one of the angles that's alternate interior. And that's using these 3 lines. All right, but that's not the only one that's alternate interior angle with 10. Okay, so I'm not going to use any of these. I'm going to scratch these out here. Give me a different angle from a different set that's alternate interior. Mateo, go ahead. 19. Let's see. Dun, dun, dun. Do you guys agree with them?
Yeah.
Okay. It's a demented looking Z. It's backwards and weird looking, but that is alternate interior angle also. So 19. Okay, 10 and 19 are alternate interior. All right, so we got one from this set. Leo. 11. 11 and 10 are vertical angles. So they already have a name. It's got to be from one set to the other. So if they're in the same grouping, they're either a linear pair or vertical angles. And so if they have share a vertex, those don't fall into the category of what we're learning this chapter. So those 2 are vertical angles. It's always good to remember that. All right, Nate. 2. Let's trace it out. 10 and 2. What do you guys think? Yes or no? Yeah, 2. Okay. That's from these ones. Anybody got another one? Can I do a set with this one? Okay. Does somebody think they can explain why that you can't get alternate interior angles from those 2 sets? Anybody think they can explain why there'd be no alternate interior angles from those? Ronald, go ahead.
Because we'll make a new and they'll be same setting theater.
I don't even think I could make a U shape out of any of those. That's not the real reason though. Have we got anything? Is there a line that would be a transversal for these? Is there any line that hits these both of those angles? Right? There's no transversal. There is no line that hits those 2 groups. Same thing with these 2 groups. There's no lines that hit those 2. So these don't share any lines. So that's why you can't do it for those. So anyways, those are the 3 answers to that. We're moving on. I know that was the end of notes 1, but notes 1 took forever, and we are going to start notes 2.